Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
We've been expecting you.
Monday, time for our maven of the supernatural, Denise Pridemore. This is the Paranormal Pride. Join to listen and chat live on WBHM-DB.com or Spreaker app. Search WBHM-DB every Monday at 7 p.m. Central for your supernatural paranormal fix. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride, where the show is about the guest and the listener.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. My guest tonight is Rosella C. And you can find her on Facebook, and you can find her wherever good books are sold. That's the first thing. She's also a paranormal investigator. She also has a radio show, and she writes a blog. Kind of like when you guys listen to me talk about all our travels and stuff, she writes it down where I just tell you. So welcome, Rosella, to the Paranormal Pride.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And so we're going to start with the basics here. Mm-hmm. Which came first, the paranormal investigating, the paranormal blog, the paranormal show? What got you involved in the realm of the paranormal?
All of it. Yeah, because I'm a woman of many hats. I have pretty much the paranormal investigating came first. First of all, I'm a medium. So I started, I basically wrote this book, which is called The Haunting at 2095, and realized I was a medium while writing it, actually, towards the end. And then my life really changed, and I started doing paranormal investigations. And then that led to basically my second book that I'm writing now, and even third, because I'm writing them at the same time, because, of course, I don't have enough to do. And then the radio show, so the podcast. It's kind of like everything kind of leads to a new idea, and I'm always taking on a little bit too much, but having a lot of fun.
I understand that. I take on too much all the time. Anybody who knows me says I'm always busy. In fact, I was telling Kat before the show, and while we were getting you on, hey, do I sound slow? Because I'm running 2 computers plus this one, and my husband's got his on, but mine's running scripts so that I can be productive for work while I'm doing this. And so needless to say, I'm the queen of multitasking. And and we've got, and of course, you can tell we're involved in the paranormal too, and a radio show. So you know how much work goes into a regular career plus extra stuff. And then on top of it, you write.
Right. Yeah. So it's always a lot.
Oh, yeah. How many books have you written?
So I actually have children's books. So I have 16 children's books, another one coming out this October, and 38 international awards. And I've done 3 world tours. So that was my life before this second chapter. And I still do write those underneath another name. But then I try to keep it separate. because I write about the paranormal things. You never know how people are going to take some things where I think it's positive. Some people don't. So I just try to do under this name, which is my grandmother's name. And also my husband's last name. So I kind of joined them together. But I have this book, The Haunting at 2095, is a real story and a haunting that I experienced when I was a child that changed my life. And that one's coming out October 1st. And it will be available actually on Amazon and in Barnes & Noble and Books A Million worldwide. And then 911 Emergency is a second book that I'm writing currently. And I'm hoping to finish that in a few months, now that we're kind of going into the winter season especially.
Well, yeah, hibernation season anyway.
Right. So I get all my writing done mostly in the winter. So, yeah. And then my other one is called Paranormal Gem, the Victorian House Museum. And that is about, I'm writing and researching paranormal research at a house in Millersburg, Ohio. It's called the Victorian House Museum. And it's changed my whole life. And I just don't think this house will ever stop changing my life. Every time I go in, something drastic happens 11 times. I mean, it's just so much stuff that happens. So I've gone through 5 investigations, and the people who are part of the Ghost Guild, who are the volunteers who help run the house and keep it how beautiful it is, along with Mark, the director, they are so lovely to me. And every time I come in, something explosive happens. So we just had a huge thing happen with the main resident ghost that is there, because she kept sending me visions of her having an argument with her, like it was kind of like a love triangle thing, and she was having an argument with the man she really loved and wanted to marry. And he, in his spiritual form, would not, like ghost form, would not tell me yes until the other day. And I figured out why they would not marry. So it was a big explosive day. And then we also saw a big energy, like ball of energy, spirit-wise, hit another medium right in the chest, and it knocked him backward. So it's a very interesting house. I mean, and people come visit me who are gone and passed, who really care about me and give me warnings and messages and ask for help for other people. It's incredible. The house is just amazing. So I can't help but write another book about it, which is why I've taken on a third book. So I'm always doing something, but it's all my stories, like 911 Emergency is the only thing that's not real. But these other 2 are real, true stories. And the women who I'm writing the book, the characters about, are real people who actually talk to me and tell me their story, and I write it down for them. So it's interesting. I'm an interesting character.
Where is the museum that changed your life?
It's in Millersburg, Ohio. It's called the Victorian House Museum. And it's like actually a Queen-style Victorian home. It's actually been in Hallmark films. So it's a home that people visit, they can visit pretty much Tuesday through Sunday. I think that their hours kind of vary because of now we're going into the winter, but it might be 10 to 4. But the house is from the 1800s, and the last resident is Lena, who I was talking about before, who had the kind of love triangle going on. And she died in the 1970s. And she's the one who talks to me quite often. She even kind of comes to my house and talks to me and gives me messages about what she wants me to write down. So it's quite interesting. And there are several ghost residents that have lived there. 2 separate families lived there, and it actually became a sanitarium at one point for alcoholics who were recovering in the 60s, I think. And it was very interesting kind of time, but it didn't last very long. But the 2 families of the people who really reside there, along with one of the doctors that kind of pops in once in a while. And I think that he kind of just pops in to say, who are you? Like, see who you are. Once he sees it's me, he usually kind of just takes off. Because he's like, oh, it's just you. Okay.
I understand that. I had that relationship at the Sally House.
Oh, okay.
for 7 years. I mean, anytime anybody went there and they did something bad, a spirit from there would come here and tell me who's there and what they're doing wrong. And I live 90 minutes away. So luckily for them, time's not an issue. Apparently neither is distance. So I knew everything that was going on there, whether I was there or not. And it was strange. You know, if somebody was doing something that they shouldn't have been doing, the spirit told me. And it was the strangest thing. And every time before I would go up there, a spirit would come to me and tell me something about what was going to happen when I was there.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So a similar situation to you.
Yeah, it is. I think, like in the woman who I wrote the first book about that comes out October 1st, The Haunting at 2095. That's actually my physical address that I grew up in. That woman committed suicide 23 days after moving out of my house, and I moved in and then kind of became the resident ghost of that house. And all my life, she was just kind of following me on my journey, so I would write this book. But she also helped and guided me without me kind of really realizing, and I was denying it a lot because I didn't want to be a medium because my mom kind of was shying away from that because we were Catholic and telling me that it was it wasn't a good thing that I kept talking about these things that I was seeing. But later on, I accepted it, and then I realized I was meant to tell this story for this woman because she committed suicide. And basically, she regretted it. And so I was writing the book as a preventative for people and talking about my experiences. So it was very therapeutic, very interesting. But she came to me and she always would warn me about things like that too. So it's the same thing as Lena coming to me from the Victorian house. So it's kind of neat. I have these two relationships with these two women I've never, physically met in my life living, but they're coming to me in their death, and I'm writing these books about them. So it's very fascinating. I mean, at least to me.
Apparently, if you're selling books, then apparently somebody's reading them. So it will be interesting to read your book and find out more, because a lot of the things that you're saying are very similar to mine. We weren't Catholic, but my mom said if I told people what I saw, that I would be put away, that they'd think I was crazy.
Oh, yeah. My mom, I think she didn't say it, but she was just like, that stuff we're Catholic and we don't talk about that. And in a way, I knew that's what she really kind of meant too. Mm-hmm. And she just kind of acted like it was shameful. And I think that she just didn't know anything else because that's how she was raised. Now, my mother has really, apologized for misunderstanding it all, because she's like, we just didn't accept that stuff back then. Like, nobody talked about that. Mm-hmm. And I was working. She was a single mother who was working 3 jobs with 4 children. So you can't blame her. I mean, she was just like, I don't know what to do. And, now they've accepted me for who I am. And I'm really interested in what I kind of have to say. Of course, my sister's like, what's going to happen to me? Tell me. So it's interesting, but I've only kind of come out of the medium closet in a way for the past 2 years and really accepted this gift. And now I do readings for people. I really work a lot with angels and deceased loved ones. I've solved 3 murders in real life. So that's interesting. And then I do like energy cleansings for like Reiki energy cleansings, meditation, and I teach that white light protection shield because that saved me one time when an evil spirit was coming for me just recently. Oh. So I've been teaching that. Yeah, Paul, who is a medium and a very good friend who works with me at the Victorian house, he's a volunteer. He taught me how to do that and was talking to me about it. As well as my other buddy, Harry, who's listening right now. And all my friends at the Victorian house are listening. And they've saved my life. And when this family then was getting attacked, I have taught them how to do it. So through me, actually, Paul has saved many people from like just using this white light. And it's amazing. But I really do. I believe that paranormal stuff is positive. People think I'm crazy when I say if it's paranormal, I'm running right toward it. But that's me. I'm like, well, I denied it, and I was angry my whole life by what I was experiencing because of not understanding it and being told that it was not something that was okay. So now I run towards it and try to understand and analyze it. And I have a psychology degree too, so I kind of use that. Like, if I'm hearing this, what is this person trying to convey? That kind of thing. Like, they obviously need something. And that's what I did with Lena. Like, why am I getting this vision? Why is she always showing up in this red dress? This day had to be detrimental to her to always show up when there's people around in a red ball gown, when everybody kept saying that she shut herself inside forever and she was chastised by society and always wearing black. So it just didn't add up. And then when I saw this vision, I'm like, this is it. This is what I was meant to do. I was meant to write her story. And it just confirmed to me. And then I got to the house and I was like, did you do this? Did you send this to me? Is this what I'm seeing? And, she lit up the EMF reader. Paul's rods were going crazy. And I was like, this is just it. I really am meant to do it. Like, everything, that validation means a lot to me. And I just write all my experiences down. So other people can, if they like the paranormal or just a story, they're satisfied. There's always just something there that's you can't put down, because you got to find out what happens.
Oh, yeah. And some of the things that you said just ring very true from my past.
Oh, okay.
Especially the living in a haunted place. Single mom with, my mom was going to school and working. Okay. With us. And so.
Yeah, my mom was going to school too. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was back in the, 70s and early 80s. My mom wouldn't have been able to go to school if it wasn't for me taking care of my sisters. So I'm the oldest. So, but, what scared my mom was the truth. When the truth would come out of me and then they'd find out that it's the truth, that's when they would go, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Truth coming from a 4-year-old and then from a 10-year-old is kind of scary for adults.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, yeah. Mine now, I'm kind of saying stuff to my mom now because she's finally accepting me for what I am, and I'm proving things to her that way. And she's like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to hear this, but I also do, because she's intrigued and she wants to believe in it, that kind of thing. But she's just not almost there yet. I think that one day she will be, but at least she's accepted me for who I am now. Because of that, like that Catholic faith, it just seems to get in the way of a lot of things. And I kind of wrap that up in my book of you can be religious, but still understand there's paranormal things that we're meant to experience. And God gives us these experiences, I believe, for us to learn and grow as human beings for some kind of reason. We might not know what it is right now, but we will later. And, it's just something that God gives you. I think it's a gift. That's what I believe.
I do too. But mostly because of the fact that if I wasn't meant, I don't necessarily have to talk back to the spirits, but if I hear them, I should be able to at least tell people what I hear.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff without somebody pulling out a Bible verse and telling me I'm going somewhere other than heaven.
Right. Yes.
That's one of the things that I can't stand. But, they're entitled to their opinion. But in that case, you can keep your opinion to yourself. You don't have to tell me that and make me feel bad because I said something.
Right. I have the neighbor that I write about, an ex-babysitter in my book, wonderful woman, but she always is like, oh, something's in your house. It's evil. Because we moved into the first house that my husband and I bought together as an adult was haunted as well. And I didn't expect that it was haunted. I mean, I went in there and I didn't feel anything. And then the day we moved in and our stuff arrived, all of a sudden it was there. So I started telling her about it. And I'm like, do you think it was actually the same person from over where I used to live? Because I was only half a mile away. And she's like, oh, no, that stuff's evil. That's what the Bible says. It's evil. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that, because I never believed that the person who was in the other house was evil. But I was like, well, maybe since I moved back to the town, she knows I'm here and she's in the house. But it actually ended up being a man who I think ended up in a motorcycle accident, like near my house, and just knew that I could feel and sense him and came in. But people will say that too. I mean, I've even talked to a pastor once, and he said that, oh, it's evil. Let me go get rid of everything for you. And I kind of feel bad. I'm like, I don't want to boot something out of where it wants to be. So, everybody has a story to tell. For some reason, it's there. And who am I to kind of boot it out? Unless it really is evil and that kind of thing, then sure. Of course, I don't know how to get rid of them. I just kind of walk away from those situations. But
well, at this point, we need to walk away from this situation because it's break time. So,
oh, wow, that's quick. Okay.
So we're at our first break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Rosella Rowe in just a few minutes.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Rosella C. Rowe. She is an author and apparently a very good storyteller. So we're going to go back to talking to her, and we're going to figure out some more stuff to entertain you guys with. So I was looking at your blog earlier, and You've been to some places that I've been.
Oh, okay.
And I noticed that you went to the Crescent Hotel. And
yes.
What were your thoughts on that?
Actually, the hotel itself changed my life. I'm not sure if you actually saw the other article about my friend Ashley Essman. She died when I met her. I met her there, and then 4 days later, she died.
Oh, no.
So that place really did change my life. I mean, I think it is a very extremely haunted place for sure. And I'm actually going to be going back to do their ESP weekend. This year, I think it's canceled. So they're going to move it to next year, and I'm going to be lead investigator and then signing my books actually at the event as well, which is a really fabulous event. So you get that hotel, and then the next day you get the other hotel down in town as well for the same price.
Yeah, the other hotel is amazing. The Basin Park.
Yeah, I haven't been to that one yet.
I haven't been there either. I have had friends that have done shows about Crescent End of the Basin Park. We've had family members that have stayed there, and they have nothing but experiences after experience to tell me about.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I can't wait to go. Actually, Keith Scales, he's the one who is going to be, he's the author of the book. He wrote about the Crescent Hotel, and I think it's called like 100 Rooms, and that's in my blog too. I wrote a story about how he came up with that and why, and the stories that are really important, like the most haunted stories about the hotel. And when I was in front of Theodora's door, I did feel something for sure and could like see her image. Not like she was talking to me, but could just tell that she was spiritually there. But yeah, the place is it's very amazing. But I think that when you go there, like me, I had a different experience because I didn't expect to meet somebody who would become my instant best friend and then die a few days later. But also in the Victorian house, she came to me and told me that she was meant to meet me in life so she could be my guardian angel in death. And that's why she met me, because I kept wondering why. And it just hurt me so bad because I just loved her so much, just instantly. We clicked. She loved everything paranormal. We had all the same, thoughts, and we were going to go all these places and do paranormal investigations. I just loved her. And then all of a sudden she was just gone. And the night that she had a heart attack and died was actually the same night that I got severely sick. And I think that I had COVID. I'm not sure. I need to get the antibodies test, but I went down hard and thought I was going to totally die. I was sick for like 10 days. So I didn't find out until 6 days later from her mother, who texted me that she had gone. So my experience is quite different from somebody else's. But I can't wait to go back. And actually her whole family is going to meet me at the hotel for that ESP weekend whenever it finally happens. And we're going to meet in person for the first time because I've connected with her family and we're all friends now and they're huge supporters of me. So it's helped me in different ways.
Yeah. So for the ESP weekend, now they have it currently scheduled for January 8th through 12th. That's Friday through Sunday. And then 15th through 17th. And so that's
for 2020.
For 2021.
Oh, for 2021. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And the only thing is now that you've been up there, did you go from the north or from the south?
I came from I'm in Ohio, but
right.
I went down to what is that town? I forget all of a sudden the town that I went to. I went to
Springdale, Fayetteville.
It's the B.
Branson.
Yeah, thank you, Branson.
Okay,
I was investigating the Titanic Museum there.
So you went the way I hate going.
Oh, okay.
To there. I hate the. I can see the rear end of my car in the turn. I can only go 10 miles an hour. Hey, there's no railing over here to keep the car on, and it's icy and all. Every time we go down. Every time.
Yeah, that place is really scary because I drove in the dark. It was February. It was Valentine's Day, actually, literally Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. And I was driving up there, and we were lucky there was no snow. It was kind of like last year was a year of really no snow, and at least in Ohio. And that's when I decided to kind of go on a whim. And I went there on a whim, really, because I was like, how far is it away? Because we're going to go to Branson. And then my husband looked it up and I'm like, I'm going. And he's like, are you crazy? And I'm like, no, you guys stay at the hotel and go swimming and I'm going to go. And that was really scary, driving alone in the dark in that car. Thank God I had an SUV. Mm-hmm. But I swear to God, Bigfoot was going to jump out in front of me.
Oh, that's everybody says that down there. It is,
freaky.
Kat came from the south when she went up there. We came from the north. We met there.
Oh, okay.
But my husband's family lives in Arkansas, or lived in Arkansas, and we met in Arkansas, but not that part. And so we go down to Springdale and Fayetteville all the time. So, at least once or twice a year. So for us, it's not a big deal. I just don't like coming from the north side because the road is much worse than coming from the south side. The road is wider in most of the south side, and you get to a 4-lane highway faster from the south side. So for me, that makes it better because I'm the person that's coming out of the big tunnel on Interstate 70 on the other side of Denver going, the brakes don't work on my side of the car. And my husband gets mad at me. I don't like that kind of stuff. And so for me, that's it. We had experiences there too at Eureka, at the Crescent. One of the spirits on the second floor, a little boy, walked up and talked in my daughter's ears when we were on the tour.
Okay, that little boy, that's it's the Brody. Is it Brody?
I don't remember names.
His name. It was a different name. I remember that.
Yeah, he walked up and he spoke in my daughter's ear, and she collapsed because, she hears spirits anyway. So, but for her, that was like, oh no. And so our tour guide, not knowing anything about us, was kind of shocked. And so we have equipment with us and all this stuff, and we have our daughter and her friend, and so I have to pull my daughter aside down a little hall to talk to her to get her back to go back on the tour. And so our daughter's standing down on the floor. We're on the staircase looking down and listening to everything. So when I see her collapse, it's like, oh no, what happened? And come to find out that she said a boy spoke in my ear. And of course, to have somebody on your tour, when you're the tour guide, having this happen, you kind of lose a little bit of control over everything at that point. And it's like, great, here I am. I'm a tour guide. And so I know exactly what she's going through. And
that's rough.
But once I explained what was happening, of course, everybody wanted to talk to me and to her, my husband, find out more. And it's like, I said, after the tour, I said, we've got to, she's got a timeline she's got to meet. We got to, get through this. We were the last tour of the night, but, it was still, she had a time she had to be done. And so we did that. We had a really good tour.
And that was Brecky. I remembered his name was different, but the little boy on the second floor is Brecky. And he is known to talk to children only. Yeah.
And he did. He talked to her. And then, but the thing is they didn't say that at the time. They said it after. They said it after it happened to her because she didn't get a chance to say it until my daughter's knees collapsed. And that's when my daughter's telling me this. And she goes, that's when she said something about the child only talking to a child. And up on the third floor, the suite on the third floor, I saw this woman walk out there. She saw us and then turned around and went back in like, oh crap, you're here. And it wasn't a real person. And it was a dead person, but it was weird. But at the end of the tour though, our tour guide told people, I'm here to answer any questions that you guys have. And they all looked at her, looked at me and my husband and our equipment and wanted to talk to us.
Interesting. Yeah.
I felt so bad. And by this time, the Ghost Adventures episode I was on had not aired yet. So nobody would have known anything. Wouldn't have said, hey, you were on TV, none of that stuff. All they would have said was, well, what is this for? And what's that for? And, we had brought dowsing rods and we were letting people use our dowsing rods and stuff on the tour.
That's cool. Yeah. I know. I brought my stuff too. And I was like, sorry, I'm a nerd. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm getting this out. And David, who was my tour guide, who went under they all have theater names. Like I have my pen name. They had their theater name. And So he said his name was something else, but yeah, he was like, I don't care, it's fine. And I told him, I'm like, well, basically, I'm like a journalist. I write haunted travel pieces, and I'm here to evaluate, your tour. And that's the tour that I met Ashley on. But he talked to me the entire night and asked me to use my equipment to prove what he was, talking about. So it was really great interaction, and people really loved it and talked to me about my book and everything. So that was really cool. Yeah.
David's been on the news down there in Fayetteville a few times.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And he's been on YouTube a lot for different people's investigations. I've seen him a lot.
Really
I've
nice.
seen him dressed in multiple different outfits.
Yeah, that's David. Yep.
Yeah. And then the woman that gave us our tour, she was dressed in period clothing. What period? The time that the hotel was built. I hate that. I hate that word, period clothing. Well, what period?
Oh, yeah. It is fun. Yeah.
Because right now I'm wearing period clothing. Of what period?
Right.
Mixed between the 80s to now. It looks like crap. Yeah. But
I am too, actually.
But, like I said, I'm looking at this and, I know every place that you guys went. Did you meet the cat?
In the Crescent?
Yeah.
No, I did not meet the cat. No. Victorian House has a cat. I thought that's what you were talking about, but no.
There is a cat. It's a real cat that lives at the Crescent Hotel.
I did, actually. Okay, now I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, I came in and he was on the desk. Mm-hmm. And I thought he was a statue. And I picked up Keith's book. And I started looking at it, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. It's a signed copy. And I didn't put together that was the manager of the whole, the ghost tour. He was the manager of it, and he used to do them. So I was looking at that, and all of a sudden the cat meowed at me and hissed and walked away. And I'm like, oh, my God, that wasn't a statue.
Yeah. They have their resident cat that basically lays around the gift shop area.
Well, and they have another cat, too, like a picture of an orange cat, right? Mm-hmm. I think I have that. It's been now this is past February. So it's been a long time, and I've done so many investigations now. But I remember taking a picture of a cat on the wall and David telling me a story about a cat that was like the ghost cat, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I can't remember what it really was now. Because Keith, if it really wasn't in his book, I don't remember, because I did do a blog on him, plus Ashley experience, plus just the tour. So it's kind of crazy how much I've written about it. But yeah, I love that place. And actually, I'm a friend of Mark Spencer's. He wrote the book, The Haunted Love Story. And I'm going to be going to his house to do an investigation too. And then I was going to go see, I'm sure you've been there. I think it's called the Hanging Judge. I'm going to go to that. So all the places I was supposed to go with Ashley in the St. Elms Hotel, I wanted to do that because I'm going to drive out there. If I'm going to drive that far,
if you do drive out to the Elms Hotel,
okay,
up in Eureka Springs, make sure you contact me, and I will make sure that we find a way to come and see you, because we live far enough away, but we live just south of Kansas City.
Well, I will surely. I'd love to do a paranormal investigation with you. That would be such an awesome. Yeah.
There's a bunch of places not far from there. There's a place called the Patterson House that's not too far from there, and we've investigated that. In fact, they've asked me where the portals are in the house.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I've only been there once, and Katie Stafford from Ghost of Morgan City, the guy who creates the equipment. Him and his wife run that, and and it was also a place that Frank James used to hang out at. Not Jesse, but Frank's brother. And the guy William Patterson was part of Quantrill's Raiders.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it's a really interesting history, and the guy who runs the museum there will tell you. You need at least an hour and a half for him, because he's got so much stuff, and it's it's just a little 2-bedroom Airbnb kind of thing, but it's still haunted. But you get both rooms for about $200, the whole place, if you wanted to have all the rooms. And it's not that bad. And it's not that far from Kearney, Missouri, which is, Jesse James' birthplace, or even St. Joe, Missouri, Jesse James' supposed death place. Depending upon who you believe on that, so there's all kinds of places around here. Friends of ours are investigating, the Sally House and the Garnett House and the McIntyre Villa and all these places that we've been. They're in town this week, and so it's kind of interesting. But like I said, if you do come, you make sure you let me know, and if we're in town, we'll make sure that we come up and see you. I mean, that's why we went all the way down to Eureka Springs to see Kat, because she was that close, and we drove down there.
Well, if it's a go in January, I haven't heard from Keith in a little bit. But he's majorly quarantining because he's in that age bracket. So that's probably why. But I will be going if it's a go during that time. And I'm going to spend like a week out there. Because I'm like, well, if I'm going to drive this far, I might as well just go and hit all these places. So, yeah. So, hey, if you want to be like my paranormal road trip groupie here with me, you
got it. My husband and I do all this stuff. I mean, we're one of the few consistent paranormal married teams.
Yeah, because there's not very many. I do know Beyond the Veil. They're pretty good on YouTube, and they work really well together. But it's funny. My husband doesn't believe in any of this stuff, really. I think it's like he does, but he doesn't really want to, so he won't talk to me much about it. But he's very supportive of what I do because he's like, oh, just go. And it makes me really happy. So he's fine with it. But, yeah, it's pretty cool that you guys do it together. That's neat. Yeah.
But my husband goes, we don't work well together, though.
You don't?
We're usually, when we do paranormal investigations, we're usually opposite sides, not fighting.
Oh, interesting.
Not fighting. He's got all the girls with him. All the females want to be with him. And I'm like, okay, go enjoy that. And I go do whatever it is I'm doing. In fact, we're doing a paranormal investigation this Friday with the CC Paranormal team up in Cameron, Missouri.
Okay.
So, they've got a new venue that they're vetting. Well, we vetted it already. Now they've got people coming in. But at this, we're going to take a break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Rosella C. Rowe in just a couple minutes.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Rosella C. And she is an author, a blogger, radio show host, and paranormal investigator. And she revealed to us also that she's a medium. So there you go. We got a little bit of everything in here, and we do have some questions in the chat room. So we're going to start. We're going to start with those, and then we'll get back into whatever questions come to my mind. And Gary from CC Paranormal Team asks, has she ever known a pastor that investigates the paranormal?
No, but I know two priests. My friend Barry Gaunt and Casey. I'm not sure. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but they are priests and they invest. Okay. Yes. Thank you. You know Casey then.
Nobody heard her though. What was the last name she said?
It was Spraggs. Is that what it is?
I think that's.
And, yeah, I'm really bad with last names.
So believe me, I understand. So, and then the next question that Gary has is, what is your favorite equipment?
The funny thing is Barry always says, I am the equipment. Haha. And he always laughs, but that is true. But mine is really, I love the EMF reader. And then I have like the, I forget also what it's called, that pod. And I forget what it's called all of a sudden now.
Oh, the REM pod?
Yes, thank you. I buy my equipment from the UK, actually, from a guy in the UK. I find it's cheaper and it's a little bit different, but the batteries don't wear out so fast and stuff. And I really like this guy. He kind of does his own inventions and puts them on YouTube, and then they're all for sale. And I have like, instead of like the Boo Bear, I have a REM pod bear. So I have that. But my most favorite thing is I got these little, like, they call them cat balls, and they just light up. But I have had amazing things happen where I've watched one of these balls do like a whole circle, like a spiral circle, and then be lifted up off an inch off the floor and then put back down right in front of my face. And I got it on film too. So those are my favorite things. And those are being used every single time. Like anytime I go anywhere, the first thing to do is hit those balls. Like, it's just amazing. So that's my favorite thing to use.
You do know that Barry Gaunt's birthday was today, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay. I just happened to see that because it said he was part of the Society of the Supernatural, and that's, Dave Spinks, and that's who's coming to our area this week.
I know Dave.
Yeah, and I know Dave too. I met him I gave him a tour at the Sally House years ago. So, and like I said, him and Sean Austin and whoever else is with them is in our area, and promised they'd call if they got a few minutes, because they're not that far from us, right? While they're here. So,
okay.
So it's always interesting. So I can't wait to see what they get at the Garnett House, which has not been investigated publicly.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm actually on Barry's show the 29th. So regarding my book.
And Gary says, this is what Denise says. She's the equipment. Actually, it's not Denise that says it. It's Ron. Ron says So what has been your most interesting piece of evidence, or, that you thought was evidence? I don't know how to usually word that right.
Well, actually, I just said it kind of a minute ago, just because that ball was really cool, how it went into a spiral and then picked up an inch off the floor and was placed down, because it hovered in the air for like a second and then was placed down. And I thought that was the most remarkable thing. Things I've seen with my own eyes is like a lot of shadow people right in front of me, like running past me and things like that. One shadow man it was interesting how to describe it, but he came out of a metal locker. This was when I was at Snow Hill, and I'm going back there Halloween. We're doing an investigation and a live podcast on that. But he came out of a locker and then peeked out and waved at me and my friend Mariah, an investigator as well. So that was interesting. And then we had a screen there too in the middle of the podcast. And I swear that if we weren't taping it, then probably a lot of the stuff too wouldn't have happened, because they seem to get really active as soon as I hit record. So some interesting things like that. But mostly too, sitting with Paul at the Victorian house, he uses the rods, and then I have my EMF reader and like the balls on the floor, and they will interact with all of them. And we've gotten some really awesome evidence doing that. As well as the other day I was there, the children really were they were really nudging the balls, but you could see them moving with your eye before they lit up. And that was really amazing, because they probably moved it like 10 times, these just tiny little movements that you could see, but still the ball wasn't even lighting up. But it was interesting. So yeah, a lot of different things. Also, I've read some children's books to children, ghost children, in that room. And the responses that I have gotten are really phenomenal. And I have that on video as well. So those are blogs that are kind of coming soon, because they're more recent. But if I get evidence like on video, I put the link. We put them on YouTube and put the link up there with the article. So those are some things. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always interested in, because some people always get EVPs. Doesn't matter where they go, they always get EVPs. Some people always get certain things at certain places. So it's always amazing to hear other people's experiences. Me, I tend to get violently touched.
Oh, okay.
Things like that. And, so it always makes you wonder, why certain people get certain things.
There is, because I know the wife from Beyond the Veil, she always kind of gets the same kind of thing. Like, she gets yelled at, and very like aggressive kind of things towards her. But then I go to the same places, and I have these really, really awesome spiritual kind of like awakening experiences with these people telling me their stories. So I don't know, but I do walk in with a perspective where I'm like, I'll just tell them immediately, I'm here because I'm telling your story. And I seem to get so much emotional feedback from them that they start talking to me, and they're really an emotional state from me saying that, like, I'm there unselfishly to tell their story. And they'll come and they'll start talking up the storm to me with the equipment, or just, as a medium form. So I approach it differently. So I think that's why I get what I get. Not saying other people, do something wrong, but I'm just saying, like, that's how I approach it. And that's why I believe I get a different, route.
I think that it helps that there's different types of people. When you have investigations, a lot of times there's, different people get different reactions.
Yeah, and everybody's different. Right. So, different. And people kind of seem to have like, everybody's different, and the energy changes per person. You know what I mean? Yeah, especially at the Victorian house. If we have like a lot of people there, the energy, it'll just be very different than it's just me, Harry, Paul, and maybe another person. And, if it's just kind of the less people you have, I get more evidence. The more people we have, I get less. And I think it's because of the energy. They're like, well, there's too many people here. Bye. Who knows?
And, well, when we would do tours at the Sally house, there were days when the more the merrier.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then there were other days where I ain't showing anybody anything.
Yeah.
I don't care how many people are here. So.
Yeah, people don't believe me. I'm like, well, they're humans. They have moods just like us. So, they feel like not talking today, they're not going to talk today.
Right. And that's what we always told people. Spirits don't act on command.
Right.
You don't like being told what to do. Why would they? And
exactly. Right.
But let me make sure there's not any more questions, because I've been listening to you and not really paying attention. Well, I'm paying attention, but not to everything.
Yeah.
So, how long ago did you start your radio show?
I just started it probably back maybe in March, I think. I don't know. It was like the quarantine. This has all been a blur. To be honest. So it wasn't very long ago. I think it's been like probably like 2 or 3 months maybe. So, but yeah, I have I have like a lot of plays and like 18 solid people. So I'm like, thank you guys for like following. But I do a lot of on location podcasts that I really love to do that. Because like I said, as soon as I hit record, they seem to just know that, this is the action time. And that's when I get most of the stuff. So it's kind of neat. And then talking to other people about the history, which is what I love about the building and their experiences, because they'll be different than mine. That's always fun. But I also love to interview people about their paranormal experiences that have changed their lives for the positive. That's what I try to focus on. I mean, of course, there's always going to be something, somebody has like, a scary or thrilling story, but they always turn it into a positive that's affected their life for a good reason. How has this changed me for the better? From having that experience. So I try to focus on that when I have people on as guests. So mine's a little bit different. I'm like the positive paranormal person, where some people are like, oh, fear in Hollywood. Well, I'm not towards that. I don't really like that kind of stuff.
No, me either. I'm more of a run towards it and figure out why it's why this is happening and things like that. And but that's
I want real stuff, people have to just be real, or I'm not watching it or listening, because people have limited time too. So
yeah.
No, I look.
In this day and age, we are being bombarded with so much stuff and so much stuff that's not real, that we need real.
Really, yeah, we really do. Yeah. So, and sometimes people are like, well, I thought yours was fake, or I thought this, and I was like, well, that's nice. Keep your opinion to yourself. It's like, then don't listen. I don't know what to say, because it's, all the stuff that I do, it's like, usually it's all, live stuff I'm just recording and putting out there. So, I think it's kind of fun to get other people's reactions to it. But the Victorian house, we did a live one, and then the Snow Hill, we did a live one, and those seem to be the most active ones. Now I do have one, Brownilla Cottage is coming up in October. So in this coming month in October, I'll have 4 of them on that I have kind of pre-scheduled for Halloween. And then I'm also doing a tour of Hanoverton, Ohio, with a really nice guy who's taking me around and showing me his tour company. So we'll be doing a live podcast with him, probably in a cemetery. So that will be really fun. So it's like Happy Halloween, and then the 31st, actually Halloween day, I'll be at Snow Hill. And that's the most active, besides Victorian House, that's the most active place I've ever been. And it just never is not active. There's always something going on. And the staff is awesome. So, yeah, like what you were saying about how kind of cheap it was. You have like the whole place for like $100 a night. You can kind of have the whole place to yourself. It's pretty cool.
There used to be some of those places here that, like the John Warnell house, used to be for $150. You get the place from 6 o'clock until midnight. I mean, it's a historical location. I mean, it's run by a historical society, and they had to have somebody stay there because it's a museum. And so, but for $150, you could get the whole place, and they didn't care how many people you had, as long as you went by their rules. And now it's ridiculously priced, and can't get in there. But they're doing tours here coming up. It's strange, with the virus, of course, they have to change how the tours are done everywhere. And stuff.
Right. The Victorian House is just closed for all that stuff until March. They just don't want to have anything happen, But they have visitors coming through the day who are just historical visitors.
Right.
And, so, everybody's approaching it a little different.
Yeah, it depends on which state you're in. Your state pretty much got closed down.
Well, we did for a little while. We did. And then DeWine opened it. It's been a while now. I think he opened it in July. I think it was like the end of July. And now everybody's full functioning, doing everything with masks. I mean, my children are in school. So
our kids went back to school on the day that they were supposed to here. And like people kept asking me, what's your opinion on going back to school? I said, I don't have a dog in that race. And they're going, yeah, you do. And I go, no, I don't. I said, my kids are all adults. I said, none of my grandkids go to school yet. So right now I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, I think.
And people think I need to have an opinion on everything. And it's like, no, I do have opinions on everything. You just don't need to hear them. And right now we're at the top of the hour news break. So everyone, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We will be back after this news break.
This message comes from NPR sponsor NCTA. With millions of students relying on the internet to learn, America's cable industry is stepping up its efforts to expand access for more families. More at ncta.com/distance learning.
Live from NPR News, I'm Jack Speer. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden visited an aluminum factory in the important swing state of Wisconsin today. NPR's Miles Parks reports the former vice president focused his remarks there on COVID-19 and bringing manufacturing jobs back to the Midwest, but did not mention the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Biden spoke at length about the U.S. government's response to the coronavirus.
Due to Donald Trump's lies and incompetence in the past 6 months, have seen one of the gravest losses of American life in history.
Against a backdrop of aluminum factory equipment, Biden also spoke about prioritizing clean energy manufacturing projects. But notably, he made no mention of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death, or of the political fight that's brewing as Trump pushes to fill her seat, while Democrats push to wait until after the election. Biden has so far avoided questions about whether he would support expanding the court should Trump seat another conservative justice. Miles Parks, NPR News, Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
President Trump says he expects to announce his pick for the Supreme Court by this weekend, clearing the way for a nominee to go to the Senate floor. That means a potential successor to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who died Friday after a fight with cancer, would be named before she is buried next week at Arlington National Cemetery. Trump says once he announces his pick from a list of finalists, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell should have plenty of time to bring a nominee to the floor ahead of the November election.
There's really a lot of time. So let's say I make the announcement on Saturday. There's a great deal of time before the election. That'll be up to Mitch in the Senate.
Answering critics who say a nominee should not be named until after the election, Trump says he has a constitutional obligation. Justice Ginsburg died Friday at the age of 87. The World Health Organization says 156 countries have now joined a global effort to develop and distribute a COVID-19 vaccine. The effort aims to buy 2 billion doses of vaccine by the end of 2021. More from NPR's Maria Godoy.
The COVAX plan will pool funds from rich and poor nations to buy vaccines. So far, countries representing nearly two-thirds of the world's population have signed on. That includes 64 richer nations whose participation is vital to fund the effort. The U.S. has already said it will not participate. China hasn't signed on either, though WHO officials say they are still in talks with Beijing. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus urged more nations to join the vaccine collaboration.
This is not charity. It's in every country's best interest. We sink or we swim together.
Tedros' plea comes on the 75th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. Maria Godoy, NPR News.
On Wall Street, stocks closed lower amid worries about the possibility of tougher coronavirus restrictions in Europe. The Dow was down 509 points. This is NPR. Tighter restrictions will be imposed in the French city of Lyon starting Tuesday to counter a sharp increase in new coronavirus cases there and a surge in intensive care admissions. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports more than half of France is now considered an active circulation zone for the virus.
In Lyon, attendance at big events will be limited to 1,000 people, down from 5,000, and the sale and consumption of alcohol outdoors is now prohibited after 8 p.m. But the French government says it has no plans for another national lockdown and is relying on regional restrictions. Government spokesman Gabriel Attal denied there is any strategy of herd immunity and said the goal is that the virus circulate as little as possible.
D'abord, il y a la prévention avec les gestes barrières, j'en parlais à l'instant.
He told French radio there's a four-pillar strategy based first on barrier gestures, such as mask wearing and distance keeping. After that comes testing and quarantining, he said, and the absolute protection of the vulnerable. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz is headed to the U.S. for talks with his U.S. counterparts aimed at maintaining Israel's military edge in the Middle East following a normalization of relations reached with the United Arab Emirates. Since that deal was reached last month, the UAE has said it wants to acquire U.S.-made F-35 warplanes and other advanced weapons. Currently, Israel is the only U.S. ally in the region with F-35 stealth fighters. Gantz is expected to meet with Defense Secretary Mark Esper. Crude oil futures prices closed lower today. Oil down $1.80 a barrel to $39.31 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. I'm Jack Spear, NPR News.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. My guest tonight is Rosella C. Rowe, and I'm your host, Denise Pridemore. Did it a little backwards just to throw you guys off. So I hope you guys are enjoying the show. If you have any questions, please put them in either of the chat rooms, and I will make sure that those questions get asked. So otherwise, I'm just going to keep on asking my questions. So April asked, asked if I shared my strange experience. No, I did not. I will tell you, this week has been strange. Well, actually, it was last week. One night, Leah called me at 4:30 in the morning. She's my daughter, and she was sick. And she has a baby, has a little one who's almost 3, and she hasn't been moved out that long. And she's got some things going on, and she called me, so I went over there. As I'm driving over there, I'm wearing sweatpants and my nightgown and no shoes, and it's only 2 miles away. So I get in the car and I go on over there, and as I'm driving over there, there's this bright light in my seat next to me.
Oh, wow.
Felt like my mom, and which is strange because my mom hasn't made any real appearances to me. You know, she said some things to me. That's it. My mom died 36 hours after my grandson was born.
Oh, wow.
So there's a very good connection there. So I'm sitting there and I see this, and I was like, okay. And the only thing I heard was, it's going to be all right.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, thank you. And I get to my daughter's, and, I'm really upset because she's called me on the house phone, woke everybody, woke me and my husband up in the middle of the night. And I had a meeting that morning. Out of all things I needed was to be getting woke up early. And we didn't know that she had been sick this much to where she needed her mom. Get over there. She's still not feeling well. Her boyfriend has to leave for work at 6 o'clock. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning at this point, and she's not ready to go to bed, but somebody needs to go lay with my grandson. So I went in there and fell asleep. Not a big deal. So I made my meeting in time, somehow, some way, don't know how. And a couple nights ago, she called me and said she needed some food because she had been vomiting, but she needed food. Same thing happened again. And this time for a much longer time. It was for at least a minute. And it was kind of a pink light as opposed to just a bright white light. It was pink. And I thought that was kind of odd. So that was the odd experience that I had twice this past week. And I believe it's my mom telling me everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah. I mean, it's funny how people, like, how much spirits will ride in cars with you. My uncle always comes to me in the car as well. Like, just kind of when I've had, I guess like a life lesson kind of thing or an aha moment, he will always show up in the car. So,
yeah, it's strange. I mean, is it because we're so focused on other things that they don't think that we're going to run and hide, which I'm not going to run and hide anyway. But, it was very strange, though, that, I mean, I have paranormal experiences a lot, just not usually anything. Sometimes it's just not memorable. It happens so often that why even tell anybody about it this time,
okay.
I have that happen a lot. but I mean, I've been experiencing stuff since I was 4, and it's just, sometimes it's just repetitive. And usually if it's just family spirits, some of that stuff is not meant for everybody to hear.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine, I mean, I've kind of ignored a lot of stuff, but seen a lot of things. Now I write every single thing down that happens to me. But I'm just a writer, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to forget this, because this is like crazy amazing. So, yeah.
Do you write stuff down? I mean, do you wake up in the middle of the night and just write stuff down?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I've been doing that for 15 years. Yeah. Like, I mean, I've gotten like my children's books. I've written basically like I had a dream. I woke up and I wrote the whole thing down from start to finish. And then like I've never even changed a word of it. That was one of them that I did. So that happens a lot. Or I'll get up and I'll like voice record it on my phone, and then I can type it up the next day so I don't forget. But you know how it is when you have kids and you're a mom, you forget things so easily. Like I have no memory. So I just have to write every single thing down. And that's the funny thing about investigating with Barry. He loves it, like Barry and Melvin, because I'll go in there and I'll write everything down that we experience, like anything anybody says and the reply. Like what lit up, what happened, how many minutes, how many seconds, what temperature was it? I'm just so detailed. So I try to have all of that kind of stuff in my blog for people. Because, you know, like, well, you and I experience stuff all the time, and it's still mind-blowing to us. Other people who don't have that gift want to know about it. So I try to have them experience it through my words.
I just wish I could find a way to program myself to write everything down at that time.
I walk around with a notebook. I do.
Well, I mean, honestly, when we were doing the tours of the Sally House, something would come to me and I would get up and I would hunt it down, you know, find down the facts that needed to go with that. My husband tells people all the time that Denise, yeah, he goes, I wish you told us when it happened, but because it's still back to growing up, you don't tell people what's going on. It's just habit now not to say what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing. And so I try to remember to tell people, but my husband would say, tell people, I wake up in the middle of the night and Denise is on her computer tapping away looking for something because something came to her about the Sally House. She had to research it and she had to find it. And I mean, I have over 1,000 pages worth of data on just the Sally House.
Wow.
And the thing is, it's all things that came to me during, somebody would ask me a question during a tour and I'd go, I don't know.
And you go look it up.
And I'd go find it.
Interesting.
Weird things like that. I mean, if somebody needed the whole history of the Sally House, they'd probably have to interview me to get it because there's so much stuff that I know that I've never put into, I mean, I've written it down somewhere. It's just not in a timeline.
Well, that's how Mark Boyle is actually, who he is the director of the Victorian House. It took me 3.5 hours to interview him for his chapter because of all the 19 years of things that he's experienced and has, you know, seen other people witness and just people telling him things that happen. And it's funny because, like, I'll even get predictions about people who will come and stuff to the house when I'm not even there, like a few days before. And then Harry will call me, the volunteer of the Ghost Guild too. He'll call me and be like, "Oh, you won't believe it. Your whole like premonition happened." And Mark is like blown away. So it's funny, kind of like now I feel like we all work as a team. But yeah, like Mark for 19 years, he's been, you know, watching this house and seeing all these things unfold. He probably would have the same kind of thing too if he ever wrote it down. So yeah, he talked to people and he takes hours to tell you this. And it's because he just knows so much like you do, you know? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure when I'm done with this house, I'll have the same. Yeah.
So on the book that you're writing about the Victorian,
mm-hmm.
Are you putting together different stories on it or an actual factual history along with the stories?
Well, actually, yeah, I'm glad you asked that because the first chapter will be the history of the house. And then the other chapters are going to be about the experiences that each, what they call the Ghost Guild members, each member, basically, there's 7 of them, what their experiences are. So I do have 2 sisters that just joined 2.5 years ago, so their experiences are less, so there'll be 1 chapter. But otherwise, everybody will have a chapter. And then my chapter will be at the end, compiled all my research about it and what I've learned. And then I actually want to write a short essay about Lena in the back and tell people how this book has changed my life for the last chapter. And then I actually will have events, like the events that they hold. Every time they have an event, they have tons of people having experiences all through the house. So I will have a separate chapter just on events, and then also a separate chapter on just EVPs and evidence that other people have compiled that's not me. So a bunch of different things in there, because it's like telling the personality of the house and how it's touched everybody in different ways. So that's what my goal is to do. But as Harry just said to me yesterday when I was driving back and had another connecting experience just driving home where someone texted me something and it had happened at the house, that was kind of like a warning sign. And he goes, that house is never going to be done with you. And I said, no, it will not. And Ashley, the person I was talking about, who died that I met briefly, she connects somehow all the time with the house. Like somebody coming from her family as a warning or her coming to talk to me. There's always some big life connection that applies to me later because of their visit at the house. So it's very interesting. So I don't think the house will be done with me quite soon.
Is there any negative hauntings in that house?
No. I mean, sometimes there's some strange energy in the basement, but I think it's just, as Paul has explained to me, because he's a medium and he's been working in that house for many years before me, but we work really well together, both mediums together with that energy. And I have gone down there and I have felt the energy. And it's just kind of like, sometimes there's just odd, strange energy. You can tell that it doesn't belong to the house. Like it's coming from somewhere else as a visit, if you understand what I'm, saying. It's just definitely not exactly like there's no evil anything. But it's just not something that belonged there. It's kind of like a lost energy, or, hey, I'm going to poke my head in here because you guys can hear me or see me. And it's probably just because we're there. But I don't believe that there is anything negative that could ever be in that house. It's just such a positive, happy, beautiful place. I mean, as my one friend, he described it, Evan coming in there because he investigates with me a lot. He was like, I could fall asleep in this house. It's so peaceful. And you just feel like you kind of walked into heaven. Like it's just a brief little visit you're going to have. But everybody who's there, inside there, makes you feel at home so much that you just feel like you could fall asleep on a couch. So it's really peaceful.
Like I said, I can see that. But then of course, what do I have to compare to?
Yeah, that's right? Yeah, I mean, my house, when I grew up in that house had a lot of evil in it. A friend basically of mine did a seance, and that's what brought the evil in. The woman who did commit suicide was not evil. She was really a wonderful person, and it's become a best friend of mine, as well as Lena, even though they're in a spiritual form, but they're really good to me. She was not evil or anything at all, but my friend invited some bad stuff in there through having a seance, and then the evil was happening. So I know the feeling of it, you know what I mean? It's definitely not in the Victorian house at all.
Well, like I said, it always makes me wonder, has anybody, the Victorian house, is it a museum?
Yes, it is. It's called the Victorian House Museum.
Okay. That's what I thought you had said, but we've talked about so many things. So
yeah, that's okay.
And people, when was the last time you said that a lady died in there in the 70s, in her 70s or in the 70s?
In the 70s. And in 1970, it's like 1970 to 71, they believe she passed because she was taken to a nursing home. And then she died, I think, 5 months later. But she was the last resident in the house, and she lived there alone. She closed herself in due to society's norms, basically. She kind of didn't get her way due to this love triangle, and she just kind of shut herself off from the world. She ostracized herself, and people criticized her. And they have a negative persona of her, and it's just the wrong image. And she's telling me that that's not her story. That's not who she really was. So I think she relies on me.
That is really interesting, because the doctor that used to live in the Sally house used to tell me that I had to get the story right, because the story they were telling was wrong. They were making him into a bad doctor and things like that, because that's what the legend had it.
Right. Yeah,
So,
and people would be like, she used to throw stones and she was a grouchy old lady. And I think that she was just perceived wrong.
But you know what? We got to go to our break, but we will come back to this. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Rosella in just a few minutes.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Rosella Rowe, and we have a question in the chat room for you from Harry Wilson, and he says, have you ever been given a message from someone who passed that was used to change the life of a living person?
That's a good question. That's my pal Harry from Victorian House and the Ghost Guild. I have. I've done so many readings, but actually lately, somebody just had an experience basically where they were asking me about their sister, And I'm like, no, your sister has to pretty much like, hit rock bottom before she's going to pick herself up. And the angels and the people in heaven who are looking out for her did not want her to help her sister anymore because she was enabling her. So that's been happening lately. But I also have had other things of a father coming through trying to tell me where he hid, basically stashed all of his cash for his 2 children to have it and not his wife, because he did not want her to have the money. He wanted the children to have the money. So he was telling me where basically the cash was hidden so they could go in and get it. And he was even telling me a plan of how to distract the wife to get the cash. So I've had some very interesting experiences with the readings.
I bet.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting.
Well, it's good that you get to do good with your power.
I try. I really do try. Yeah. I will tell the truth. If it's evil, I'm flying out of there because I got 2 kids and I don't want it. But I try to, that's where I give the case to Barry and Casey and stuff like that and direct them to priests. And here's how you get rid of it. And these are the people who are going to help you, but I'm not going to do it. And I just try to stay everything positive.
I think that's always a good way to go. When we were doing tours, like I said, it was a somewhat negative place. We still had to be positive, no matter what, and smile and make sure that no matter. I mean, if somebody has a negative experience, turn around and make it positive for them.
Right, distraction and thinking about it positive. Yeah, I think that too, like the acceptance. If you accept things for what they are, that's the key to life, and trying to understand from the other person's perspective why you're experiencing this and why this is happening. Why did Lena show up and do these things? It's because she's trying to, convey something. So if you think about it if you hear a scream, well, why is that person screaming? Well, probably because we can't really hear them. So they got fed up and they're just screaming as loud as they can so we can hear something. And if you think of it psychology-wise, psychologically of why, it takes a fear out of it for me. So I think that whole Hollywood thing is to make you feel fear. But that's why I don't like that, because those people, they need you for something. They are hoping you're going to help them in some kind of way. So that's what I try to do.
That's always a good way to go. So,
thanks.
I just know that I would much rather, yes, you like to go to those scary hauntings.
Yeah.
To get your blood up. Get your blood moving and stuff. But sometimes those other hauntings you actually get more activity from because they feel like they're part of your family.
Right.
When I talk about the Sally House, I had both negative and positive. I had ones where the spirits were welcoming me and hey, come in here. The one spirit would take my hand and hold my hand half the time I was there. And she would let me know all this stuff. And then you'd have the negative spirit. But the thing is the poor good spirit couldn't save anybody from the bad spirit. But it did. My whole life for 7 years was that.
Well, I know what you mean. Yeah. Have I had negative experiences at the Victorian? Yeah, I have actually, just in terms of family members that I did not want to talk to, who I did not like in this light, during living, and now they're gone, coming to me and asking me for something, to do something for the family that I wouldn't do. So I was just like, no, I'm not going to do any, this is not my thing. I don't need to, I don't like you. I didn't like you in life. I don't like you now. It's like that one thing where, if you're a bad person in life, you're a bad person, maybe like in the afterlife, if you're a jerk when you're dead too. A lot of people say that. So I just was like, no, I'm not going to do this right now. I'm not going to engage with you. So in terms of that, yeah, stuff happened. But otherwise, I've really tried to keep it really my positive, safe haven kind of thing. Because in the other house I experienced, like the 2 houses that I used to live in, I had a lot of negative experiences as well as some really good ones. So like the house that my husband and I lived in and bought, that first house, we really did move because the haunting was getting so extreme. We had to leave. And I was like, I have to divorce you. I can't do this. Like, you stay here and please don't do what you are doing to us, to the new people, and be welcoming and kind and loving. And I was hoping that because of this experience, that person would learn, to interact a different way. Mm-hmm. But when my kids were sick, he would wake me up. And when the kids had like 104 fevers and ear infections out of nowhere, and I would take them to the hospital. So without that spirit waking me up, that my kids could have died. So there was good, and I think there's good and there's bad in all haunted locations in general. So it just depends on how you look at them and why you have that experience, because everything's a lesson for me and for them. That's how I think about it.
I had those same experiences with one of my daughters. Would get a sudden ear infection and suddenly be 105.8 and in the hospital.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. See, she had seizures. She had 2 seizures one day. They considered it just one bout and one instance of a seizure, even though it was 2 in one day. And after that, I was on her. I was on her all the time, making sure that she was okay. If she got a slight fever, I had her at the doctor, getting her on antibiotics and you
just jump on it. You have to.
Tylenol and Advil, and eventually got tubes in her ears, and it went away. She actually outgrew it.
Oh, that's good.
So, but she did end up having to have speech therapy and other stuff now.
Oh, geez.
And well, because the ear infections got that bad where she ended up losing some of her hearing, but she has no problem talking now. She tends to tell people exactly where she stands. So, but yeah, she's a
Spitfire.
We have so many parallels. It is very strange.
Oh,
so, especially living in haunted houses.
Yeah,
we've lived in houses that every house I've lived in has had a haunting, and including our house that we live in now. But now we know why. This house never had any, but we're the only family who've ever lived here.
Oh, okay.
It was cow pasture.
Oh, okay.
Unless it was a Native American that died.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Way back before.
Well, yeah.
Well, we are on the Potawatomi Trail of Death.
Oh, well, that's not good.
Well, it's just, it is what it is. But,
yeah.
But I don't think I've never seen any spirits from that time.
Oh, okay.
So it is, we now know it's because apparently I'm a lighthouse.
Yeah, it is. We're beacons. It's just, that's how it is. And even they'll pop in, my family and relatives, and especially Lena and Judy used to do it, who, that I wrote another thing about. And basically they come in and just they tell you their words of wisdom, or if I'm sick, particularly a grandmother shows up. So that they kind of go in and out of just coming between here to talk to me, warn me about things or something, and then go back to heaven. And I think that is what they just do. And my daughter can sense when something's around, where I kind of just get quiet,
Yeah.
So yeah, they just know. Speaking of that, I even have this coming out. Somebody asked me, how did I know I was a medium lately? And Paul from Victorian House, and I started telling him the story. A little girl actually jumped out of a graveyard at my car and then disappeared. And she was saying that she was looking for her parents, and she did this to get my attention because she knew that I could hear and see her. So that kind of stuff happens to me a lot. But we really did move from the other house to be here because it was clear. And I just walked in, not even seeing the house, and I just said, I'll take it. And she's the owner was like, do you want to see it? I said, no, I don't care. I already know what it looks like, because I did. I can kind of just do that, far away kind of thing and seeing stuff. But I'm like, it's cool. I'm clear because I just can't live in another one again. I cannot. I've lived in several apartments, like a little house that we rented, and those were clear, but it's just these two, and it's the longest that I lived in like anywhere. So I don't want to do it anymore because it's affecting my daughter too. She can see some stuff and hear some things, and she's actually proved that at the Victorian house because we were there, and I was actually interviewing Mark when I said I had that really long interview, and she walked over to me and said, "There's a little girl named Millie here who is 8, and she described her as blonde hair, blue eyes, and she said she's asking her to play." Well, I asked Harry about it, and he's like, "No, that name's not really familiar, but I'll check it out in history." So he takes me up a few hours later unknowingly to this, what they call the maid's room. And I'm like, well, there's a woman here who's 30 who has like kind of blondish hair, kind of dirty blonde hair, who is all in black and black heels, kind of like different time period, late 60s. And she is really upset that you're calling it the maid's room because she's no maid. That's what she's saying. She's not a maid. Well, he checked it out and called me at 9 a.m. the next day. And he goes, basically, this woman who you saw in that room and the name Millie, well, her name was Millie. She rented a room from Lena, and they never knew this before. So this was new evidence that my daughter and I actually had worked together as one, and we didn't even know about it. You know, it's really interesting. And then actually my daughter had an experience in the children's room playing ponies with the little kids, Leland and then Leona. And we got that on tape, too. That's a part of my next blog coming out soon. But she also had this really funny experience. It's hysterically funny. Because Paul and Harry and I were talking at the end of the hallway, and my daughter was running up and down the halls with my EMF reader, talking to Leona and skipping and playing. And we turned to her and we're like, well, you know, she might, you know, the little spirit might be gone now because it had been over an hour. And Paul was trying to explain to her, well, sometimes we don't have enough energy, and we think that person's still with us, and it doesn't mean they don't want to be, but sometimes they just don't have enough energy to stick around, and they'll go and come back maybe later. Well, my daughter stuck the EMF reader out, and she goes, "Nuh-uh, she's here. Light it up, Leona." And then in an instant, it just went, ee, and then lit up, full launch, all the way to 5. And she goes, "See, told you she was here." And then she turns and just skips down the hallway with it's still lit up and going ee, as she's skipping and talking. And she runs off to the children's room again, what they call the children's room, where they kind of reside. And she starts playing ponies with them again. And it was the most interesting experience. I mean, me and Paul were just like, I remember looking back at Paul, like we stepped backward. We were so shocked. So it was really interesting. But yeah, like those little kind of moments, my daughter definitely has something going on.
Does she record any experiences anywhere else besides there?
Well, in our old house, she describes her cat coming, like our past cat coming to her a few times. She has said some stuff. So she's said that the cat appeared on her dresser. Which the funny thing is the cat would get on the dresser, kind of be like, you know, a little ornery. And we would always be like, "Aspen, get off," and everything to the cat. And she would look at us like, "Yeah, this is kind of my spot. I want to be here. This is where I want to be." So Emma says that she wakes up in the night and she sees a cat on the dresser looking at her. Or if she's about to go to sleep or something, she'll just see the cat appear. And it gives her comfort. And she falls asleep. So... and she says that she's seen it in the hallway, even here at the new house. She even says that. I have actually felt a cat like kind of jumping up on the bed and having an impression, you know, where the bed kind of just presses down.
Believe me, I know I got 5 cats.
Yeah, so you know that feeling when you have a cat, you know, and I'm like, this is really strange because the cat was never here. So after that, it's not like I never believed her, but I really started you know, there was no doubt to me then because I'm like, well, I guess the cat's here. So who knows? But she's had several kind of things that she's kind of predicted that have turned out to be true. So I'm always trying to be that mother because I was shushed as a child to be that mother to listen. Like, she's telling me this, and this is coming from somewhere. There's merit to this somewhere. I just don't know what it is yet. But I'll never shush her, because I was that child that was. So I've learned from that. And maybe that's why I have learned from it, to help other people and then to not, shush them. But I try to educate them on the paranormal so they aren't fearing it. Because, they see TV too. And then they start to hear it. So
not to mention, YouTube is full of stuff. If they really wanted to go find it, not on TV, with their cell phones these days, they can find anything they want. And I'm actually in a series for basically for explaining to people how to teach your children to live with their abilities.
Really? Okay. I'm going to have to check that out.
Actually, I wish I remembered the name of it. It's just the guy interviews 3 people, a minister, me as their medium type person, and a paranormal investigator. And so there's the 3 of us that they're asking these questions to. And I think that there's someone else too. But I know that I'm episode 2 of it, and I have got to see that because I was just asked randomly I was asked to do it. I didn't know what I was being asked to do, and I said yes. And then I didn't know what questions they were going to ask, so they asked me point blank and videotaped it. So needless to say, I'm either really good at BSing or I really know my stuff. I don't know. So I'll have to go and look at that video. I'll send it to you when I find it.
Cool. Thanks.
They sent me a copy of it, but a friend of ours, his son seems to have abilities, and he felt like he always had abilities himself, but he squelched it when he was younger. So he's trying to get it back himself, but he's seeing it in his son. So he's wanting to help his son to develop it going forward so that he's not squelching it like his parents did with him, like your parents did with you and mine did with me. And, so I was like, why not? But my mom wasn't able to squelch mine. Only thing she did was make me shut my mouth publicly.
Well, I think it depends. Yeah, it really does depend on who you hang out with. Now that I'm surrounding myself with all these people who are positive about what I am doing and supportive, it's really changed my life. I mean, especially like Harry and Paul, and even another person, Lori, has been really great on the Ghost Guild with really asking me a bunch of questions and being extremely open and accepting of who I am and supportive. And I have a friend, Jerry, who's kind of like my adopted father, who's really wonderful. And they're just so supportive of who I am and what I am. And they're also supportive of my daughter. So I think it's really great to be surrounded by that. And then you shine and you open up even more and have even more beautiful, positive experiences. I mean, regarding the angels, I've seen them. I've had them come and protect me when I had an evil entity trying to kind of get me from somebody asking for help, and I was giving the number to kind of Barry to, it's like, here you go, take care of that. And just because I gave the number to Barry, they were trying to come at me. And I think that the more you surround yourself with that positivity, the more you're protected by God too. And you just have all these incredible experiences you never would have had unless you accepted who you were. So I really believe in surrounding yourself with that right kind of positive, unfortunately, like maybe, like some people would say, a paranormal family, because that's who those people are going to be to bring out the true light in you.
Well, you know what? At that time, we got to take a break again. We're at their very last break. So everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Rosella in just a few minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore. My guest tonight is Rosella C. Rowe. And Rosella, how can people find you and your books?
Well, the book is coming out October 1st, and it's called The Haunting at 2095. And it will be available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. So I'm going to put, once I finally get a link, which will go up October 1st, and you can get it on Amazon. I just figure with Prime and everything, it's easier to do. So I will put it on my Facebook page, and I am under Rosella C. Rowe. And you can find me. It's like Rosella C. Rowe author. And then I'm on Twitter as Rosella C. Rowe 1 under there. And then also A Haunting Good Time is my radio show. And that is under A Haunting Good Time on Facebook and Twitter. And then I am on Anchor with that, which you can hear me on like 20 different platforms like Spotify and all that. But that is anchor.fm, A Haunting Good Time radio show. So all those things. And then the new books will be kind of coming in probably like this next summer. But that's 911 Emergency, and then the Paranormal Gem, the Victorian House Museum. So that's all my stuff. And then basically my blog is myhauntedtravelblog.blogspot.com. And I have a new story every 2 weeks about my paranormal investigations or experiences, / celebrity interviews, as well with paranormal people and their experiences. So that is a very popular thing, and that's free, of course, so you can always find me there. But that's myhauntedtravelblog.blogspot.com. And I also update that.
And I also saw that you have a Haunted Ireland tour coming up in 2021.
Yes, I'm not sure with COVID what's going to happen with that, but I still want to go, but I'm just kind of like leery on if that still might be happening. But yeah, like we're supposed to go to quite a few haunted spots, and then I might be doing, I think it's like it's Ghost Hunter International Day or something. I'm supposed to be doing that with it. It just depends on what's going on with this virus right now. But yeah, I'm hoping to do that. That will be really awesome. I'm actually 100% almost Irish, and I've always wanted to go, so it's a great excuse.
Oh yeah. I know that Dave Spinks has got a tour. My friend Sean Whittington has one. There's so who else? Mike Ricksecker. Actually, I know almost Ted Van Son. Almost everybody I know has a haunted Ireland tour next year, and it's like, how in the heck do I get one? I mean, I'll get my passport updated for that. We keep talking about going to Ireland, but it is what it is. And
Well, I want to go to Italy too, because Italy is really my mothership. I swear, I was like, I lived another Italian life in a past life, because I know my whole way around it and everything, and never needed a map. And I've always wanted to do that too. So I'm hoping when all this stuff lifts and stuff like that, I can have a good excuse to go there again. Yeah. So
I can see that. That'd be fun too. That's like me in Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia. Hadn't been there since I was a little kid, and I went there probably 20 years ago. Drove right to my aunt's house. I mean, didn't have an address, didn't have anything, and my sister goes, "What are we doing here?" And I go, "This is Aunt Belle's house." And she goes, "How do you know that?" I said, "My memory tells me it is." I said, "But I was only here." The thing is I'd never been there, and it's because she had just bought that house. So I'd never been there. And so it was kind of weird when I did that. But she's my favorite aunt. Maybe that's it. Maybe I tuned in on that favorite
maybe you tuned in. Yeah.
So.
I know, like my husband, I remember we were really lost in Rome, and we were looking for this little tiny church, and he could not find it on the map at all. I love Rick Steves, and I had all of his maps, and I couldn't find it. And then my husband was asking in Italian directions, of course, rusty Italian, because he didn't really know it. And I'm like, we don't need directions. Follow me. And we went down like several kind of even scary alleys and all this stuff. But I found my way, like we just kind of shot out into this big plaza, and then boom, there was a church right in front of us. My husband was like, how in the world? And of course, I thought that I had invented every single Italian recipe that was on the menus. So I was really furious that they all stole my recipes. Yeah. So I definitely had something like major deja vu. I mean, I knew the whole city of Rome. So it's really interesting. But yeah, now I can say I firmly believe in some of that stuff, But yeah, so I think it would be a good excuse, to definitely go. And Ireland is cool because my family, I have relatives that are there, so it would be really fun to knock on their door and see what happens. So,
yeah, I know I have family history there myself.
Yeah, we're still there. There's like probably I think there's 200 members still there that they left behind back like, really long time ago when the Irish were immigrating into New York. And that's where we came from. So, yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah, my husband's got the news on it showing the storm Teddy. Ocean City, Maryland is flooded. And it's someplace I used to go when I was a kid. So
I went to school at University of Maryland, yeah.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
I used to live by the airport at one time, by BWI, and I lived in Essex. And I was actually born in downtown Baltimore at the University of Baltimore Medical Center.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my husband's whole side, which is where the row comes from, is in Leonardtown. So we lived there, and I went to University of Maryland for like just 4 years. I was there at school. So yeah, the Fighting Turtles, I believe. I think I never was big on the sports with that, to be honest.
Oh. Well, I mean, they played lacrosse. I mean, heck, how bad could the college be? That's the only sport that I could sit there and go, yeah, I know something about lacrosse. And I know something about field hockey. But
yeah, my nephew did into lacrosse, yes.
So yeah, I grew up, I was born there, lived there until I was 15, moved back when I was 18, left when I was 19.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And but I also lived in New Jersey. And it was everywhere, but
my whole family is from New Jersey. My entire family.
Oh, well, mine. Where in New Jersey?
Cherry Hill. They're from Cherry Hill.
Not far from Patterson.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah,
that's where I live.
That is so weird. We have a lot in common.
I know, it's very strange. Oh,
we definitely have to get together and do this paranormal visit here. So.
Yeah, I got a feeling the only thing different is probably the time frames in which we did these things.
Yeah, right. I think so. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, yeah, I mean, it is strange when I think about all that, how some people are just meant to meet. And you're the one who reached out to me, so I was like,
I did.
So it was meant to be. And So hopefully you get, if you make it out this far, please let me know, and we will make sure that we find a way to meet up. And I can actually tell you some places to avoid, as well as places that are must-goes.
Always good. Yes.
Yeah, and to let you know, getting around up there in Eureka Springs. No, in Eureka Springs. Eureka Springs is kind of weird.
It is very strange. Yeah, it's really weird. And, I've seen Bigfoot myself here in Ohio, which is another weird story. But I really did expect it to jump out at me at that point.
I actually meant Excelsior Springs, but yes, it's just as bad. My husband took me to the Elms Hotel, went on during our wedding anniversary weekend. We didn't stay there because, there was no need to stay there because we were staying somewhere else. But when he took me there, it was very odd. It's a very twisty, turny town too. And the Elms looks bigger on pictures than it is when you're there in person.
Oh, okay.
It seems very small when you're there. It looks like, outside it looks big, but when you're inside, it feels smaller. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yeah. I'm hoping that I can drag Harry and Paul with me too on these tours. So I'm trying to talk them into it. But Paul has been on Ghost Hunters a long time ago. He was a medium on Ghost Hunters, actually at the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, okay. I've never been there. There is another place in Excelsior Springs. They call it the Hall of Waters.
Oh, I have never heard of that. Okay.
I don't know why it's haunted.
Interesting.
But
they say it is all this stuff. Like, it's so cool. Yeah.
Well, since I live in town or in the area, I hear about it from a lot of people. In fact, later on, during October, November, I'm going to be having on some people who actually do tours around Kansas City.
Okay.
And one of my friends, Becky Ray, I had her on before. She actually wrote a book about the hauntings in Kansas City. She's a librarian as well. And so that'll be very interesting and nice. I think that's November 2nd. And then I'm going to be having on my friend Shay. Suddenly lost her name, and I know what it is. But Shay's going to be on October 19th, and she does tours in haunted Leavenworth.
Oh, okay. Huh.
And Leavenworth they have tunnels that are haunted.
Ooh.
They have an underground city.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I love that.
And, dates back to the pre-1860s. And you figure Leavenworth is one of the oldest towns west of the Mississippi, 1830 something.
Yeah, it feels like that's pretty. Yeah, west is kind of rare for that. Is it the Underground Railroad?
No, actually, it was a way to hide the people that weren't pretty enough to be seen up above ground.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a thing. You may be able to find it on YouTube. It's called Plains Spirits, Plains Spirits, PLAINSPIRITS, and there is an episode on there that talks about Leavenworth and Atchison. And it has all this information in there, and it was done by PBS. And they interviewed some people about the haunted underground, and the only reason I knew anything about it was because my old boss bought an old house in Leavenworth that happened to be haunted, and he happened to call me one day and said something about, my house is happy. He goes, my house completely changed overnight, and it's happy.
Oh, no.
And he only told me because he knew that I was sensitive enough to understand what he was talking about. And then he started telling me about these about the underground. And I was like, I've read something about that. This was back in 2014 that I read about it. And I think that it was actually, this Plain Spirits was actually filmed in early 2014.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And so it's kind of neat because, there's different places that say that they have underground, and this one actually does. April has a question for you.
Okay.
She says, do you have any messages for us listening for the times we live in?
Oh, going through this. Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is going to get, like, unfortunately, the COVID stuff is going to get a little bit worse come November. I always have felt that since even August. But, hopefully, and I tell people all the time, the universe shifts and changes. I mean, you know how that goes, Denise, where it just shifts and changes, and all of a sudden something that was going to happen just doesn't. But I kind of feel like it's going to get a little bit worse in the end of October. But then it'll kind of plateau a little bit. I hope by February we're going to be at a good spot. But people just have to keep their faith. I mean, think about it. Like 115 years ago, the yellow fever hit Savannah and wiped out so many people. And now the planets are literally aligned the same that they are, like they were then, now. So we're going through something that the universe just knows that this is just a part of our norm, and we just don't know how to handle it. So we just got to ride through it, and we'll come out, and we're going to have something better from this. You just have to think positively. And the angels are all on everybody's side, and they love everybody. So you just have to be positive. So just everybody hang on there and just talk to the angels. Yeah, keep your faith.
Well, that's what we're doing. So, well, I would like to thank you so much for coming on tonight, and everybody tune in next week when I have on author Pam Kinney. She wrote some books about haunted Virginia. I have 2 of them that are very, very interesting, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. So, especially those of you who have lived in Virginia in the past, and which one is me, but April, my cousin, she just moved from there and she's listening. So I'd like to thank you for being on, and I would like to thank you for bringing your horde of listeners with you. I appreciate that so much. I hope they found something here that they really enjoyed, and that they'll come back and check out some of the programming here on WBHM-DB.com. We have something for everyone every night but Tuesday and Saturday. So come check us out. So see you all next week. Thank you so much. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll see you next Monday.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.